What's good, Wrestling Games fans? Welcome back to the channel. God bless. Thank you for stopping by because we got a lot to talk about. So, for the first time in a long time, we actually have another legit wrestling game experience in the wrestling games landscape. AEW Fight Forever has officially arrived on the scene, and whether you consider this game competition or just an alternative, I think the one thing that we all can agree on is that it is great to have more wrestling games. And regardless of what you prefer, I think it's safe to admit that both of these games do certain things quite well, and that each game could stand to learn from the other. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Wrestling games fans, let's work. When it comes to controller options and accessibility, I feel like this is one of those things where they could both learn from each other. For example, I love how AEW gives you the option to change your control scheme. This is something I feel like 2K fans have been asking for quite a while now, or at least since the transition from 2K19 to 2K20. On the other side of things, I really feel like Fight Forever could really learn from 2K's accessibility. While button mashing is okay for me, I personally don't have a problem with it, it is not rated E for everyone. Some people are just not physically able to button mash. So I would love to see them patch or do something to maybe remedy this situation. I get it, that they're trying to stay as close to No Mercy as possible. They want to pay homage to that. But at the same time, it's okay to improve on the design. With that being said, I would love to see them provide some options as an alternative to the button mashing. In terms of career mode, both My Rise and Road to Elite could stand to learn from each other. I love how Road to Elite gives you different options instead of just match after match after match. Break up some of that monotony and give us something else to do. I said this in my wishlist video. Maybe let us attend a Make-A-Wish charity event and we run into a John Cena right there and that sets up like a dream match or something. They don't have to hijack the whole design. I'm just saying maybe not be so linear and scale back on the story a bit and give us a little more freedom and choice about how we want to proceed with our career. I also love how AEW Fight Forever has like zero must-win criteria. Like you can legit go through the whole mode and lose every single match. It's things like this that add to the replay value because you'll probably want to go back and see what would have happened if you had won that match instead of lost. 2K is a bit too heavy on the hand-holding where they seem to want to guide you through your career. I would love to see them ease up on the must-win matches. And better yet, maybe even give players an option where we can choose to rematch, but if we decide not to, it may alter our story path. Maybe give us a warning saying if we choose not to rematch, we may drop down in the ranking for the Intercontinental title or something. I just feel like things like this would add to the longevity of the My Rise mode and not make it such a one and done feature. On the flip side, I think AEW Fight Forever needs to have more story structure because I'm not even gonna hold y'all, man. The Road to Elite stories are kind of all over the place. I'm not going to say exactly what they are because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. No spoilers. But yeah, they could definitely use some structure. I think I may have run into like maybe one cohesive story where I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But the rest of it, I'm just sitting here holding the controller trying to figure out what the heck just happened. They could also learn from 2K in terms of having multiple save files, because their one save file is not it. Fun fact, if you finish Road to Elite with your created character, do not go back through it with that same character because it will reset all your stats. So unless you have the intention of going back through and kind of rebuilding your created wrestler to maybe change some things or maybe, give him some stat boost in other areas, that's fine. But if you like him the way that he is or the way that she is, do not go back through Road to Elite because it will reset your character stats and skills. What I love about AEW's tag team wrestling is that there is so much availability when it comes to performing tandem offense. There are legit tag team moves from almost every position. And this is so dope because it really makes you feel like you're actually working as a tag team. 2K could really take a page out of this book. Because even though there are multiple tag team moves to choose from, there are not other ways to initiate them. We have tag team moves from out of the corner, and then we have the ones that are initiated through the drag system. So we definitely need more ways to take advantage of double team moves in the WWE 2K series. However, there are a few standout features in the WWE 2K series that I feel like would be pretty cool if they were able to get it in AEW Fight Forever. One being the hot tag. I don't think AEW Fight Forever has a hot tag feature in which you can kind of crawl towards your partner and tag them in. I think that would be a pretty cool feature to see in Fight Forever. And secondly, 2K's tag matches just have better overall balancing and pacing. Fight Forever can get a little hectic at times, and even though that might sound good in theory, unfortunately it's not the flex we might imagine it to be, especially when any CPU characters are involved, because they are constantly in and out of the ring so much that it actually makes the match feel more like a tornado tag. Again, sounds like a flex, right? Unfortunately, due to the awkward targeting system, it can make matches feel a bit sloppy. But without a doubt, the worst part about these matches is the rollout system. In my opinion, this was a rather odd game design choice, because instead of having your wrestlers just walk to their respective corners and get out of the ring, they would just drop down and do like this slow, cumbersome roll to the outside, and in most cases take the longest route possible to get back to their respective corners. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I would just love to see them take a page out of 2K's book and just keep things simple and allow the wrestlers just to walk back to their corners. When it comes to having multiple signature and finisher slots, AEW Fight Forever absolutely nailed it with this feature. I was able to give my created wrestler multiple versions of his signature and finisher, and it was beautiful. This is such a great feature for just opening up the offense, because you really feel like you can hit your signatures and finishers out of nowhere. This in turn makes you a lot less predictable to your opponents because they don't know where that move is going to come from. I really need 2K to get on board with this, man. I think the days of the 2 signatures and 2 finishers are over with. I need the likes of Randy Orton and HBK to have access to all versions of their moves without being restricted due to limited slots. The Royal Rumble and Casino Battle Royale could both stand to take some notes from each other. The Casino Battle Royale from a technical and mechanical standpoint, and then the Royal Rumble from an aesthetics standpoint. The Casino Battle Royale is a pretty decent match. However, I do feel like it could really benefit from like a elimination minigame. It doesn't have to be anything too elaborate, maybe something like a button mash game, and then you have, of course, an accessibility option for maybe like a timing based one. Truth be told, it doesn't really even have to be a mini game, because it's more so about the animations. The elimination animations is what's missing from this game. Like, I could see a scenario to where like you have your opponent against the ropes, you go press the button to jumpstart the elimination sequence, and then the game decides if that opponent has been weakened enough to be eliminated based on his current HP levels as well as like his current momentum and things like that. I would take this over not having anything. Now, the game does have finisher eliminations, but from what I've seen, they're nothing too spectacular. It's just, you lean your opponents on the rope and then you flick the right stick if you have a special, and it would allow you to just dump your opponent to the outside. Personally, I would love to see more finisher eliminations as well. Hopefully it's something they'll be able to patch in at a later date. We also need to be able to not only select the participants in the Casino Battle Royale, but the number of participants as well. Now, as far as the Royal Rumble goes, ironically, the biggest thing I feel like they can learn from AEW Fight Forever is the presentation. The AEW Fight Forever has Casino Battle Royale entrances, and we've been asking for Royal Rumble entrances for a long time now, man. I feel like this is something that would really help propel that Royal Rumble match to even greater heights. When it comes to customization, AEW Fight Forever could learn a lot from WWE 2K. I mean, don't just take a page, take the whole book. If there's one definitive negative that you could say about AEW Fight Forever, it is definitely the customization. That entails everything from match options to even the creation suite. Outside of move sets, there's not a lot of options in the game at all. Not only are there very few match types, but the fact that we can't customize the few that we do have makes it sting just a little bit more. Unfortunately, the creator wrestler feature is no better. There's very slim pickings when it comes to things like face options and hair and even the clothing. Like, bro, my personal wardrobe has more clothing options than this game. So when you couple that with the reality that there's no community creations or no way to upload logos or no facial or body morphing, it doesn't leave you a lot to work with. One of the things AEW Fight Forever does phenomenally well is move impact. And it's not just grapples. This includes strikes, weapon attacks, environmental attacks, basically any move type that you can think of. They all have such a hard-hitting feel, and I love it. What really puts it over the top are the things that accentuate this, such as the sound effects and the way the ring bounces upon impact. This is an area that 2K could definitely do a better job in, because while the moves do look aesthetically pleasing, they just lack impact. And unfortunately, it takes away from the big move feel. So I just need 2K to put a little bit more seasoning on it. Reversals in AEW Fight Forever, I'm kind of lukewarm on the system. On the one hand, I actually like the 2-button reversal system because it's very familiar to me in terms of the whole Aki-based system that comes from the No Mercy days. But I could be wrong, and maybe I'm just tripping, but it seemed like No Mercy was better balanced. Reversals in AEW Fight Forever seems a little bit inconsistent. 1 minute it seems like you might actually start to get a grasp on the system, and then the next minute it leaves you wondering if you just got lucky. Personally, I would like to see them add a reversal prompt. Make it optional, so if you want to use it you can, but if you don't have to. Because while the training does help some for initial grapples and strikes, it doesn't really account for post lockup. So after you've been grappled, the game really doesn't give you any indication on what you're supposed to do. I mean, is it timing based? Is it simply just guessing which attack you think your opponent's going to do next? This is where I feel like a reversal prompt would be beneficial. Again, like I said, make it optional because I know some purists are out there, but I wouldn't necessarily mind if they borrowed this from 2K. Interactivity is also another area I feel like both of these games could learn from each other. At first glance, I thought AEW was going to be way more just interactive. But honestly, in hindsight, it's way closer than you guys might think. I think the recency bias of us seeing guys get German suplexed through the barricade or power bombed on the steel steps. But the reality is you can do just about all of this stuff in 2K as well. And in some cases more. Don't get it twisted. There are definitely some things in AEW Fight Forever that stands out that I would love to see make it into the WWE 2K series. Barricade dives are definitely on that list. I think this is one of those features that would definitely cook in the WWE 2K series. Another feature I would love to see them adapt is grabbing things out of the crowd. It doesn't necessarily have to be weapons. They could keep it PG and just maybe allow us to grab like water bottles or something so we can splash it in our opponent's face. Or, seeing as how Logan Paul is associated with the WWE now, maybe allow us to grab a bottle of Prime and have a cool Easter egg where maybe you take a sip and it gives you a bit of momentum or something. I just miss those crowd interactions that we used to have in the old games. So them bringing it back in some capacity, I just feel like it would be a W. The one area where Fight Forever could stand to learn something from 2K is going to be in terms of quantity. When it comes to interactions with the environment, 2K just has a wider moveset. Given that's mainly due to the drag and carry system, but even still it counts. So I would love to see Fight Forever add some more variety to the environmental offense. In terms of weapons, it's not even close. AEW Fight Forever dog walks 2K when it comes to weapons. That's not to say that they can't learn anything from 2K regarding weapons, because there actually is a few things. One thing, 2K's weapon environment is a lot more stable, especially in terms of tables. There's definitely some issues going on with the tables in AEW Fight Forever, but at least they don't explode when you put somebody through them like 2K. The second thing is definitely the 2-hit limit they placed on weapons. This is definitely a weird design choice. I would love to know the thought process behind that one. I don't know if this was just to circumvent the sheer amount of weapons that we can have on the screen, or if there's another reason behind it, but it definitely kind of kills the flow of gameplay sometimes. But even with that being said, just the sheer amount of weapons that we can have coupled with the variety and usability, like I said, is not even close. 2K could stand to learn a lot. I would love to see 2K implement weapon finishers. We have ladders and table finishers, but why not expand that to the rest of the weapons? Also, give more weapons their own unique strikes and animations. Maybe even add a few more weapons. Like, it's crazy that we can't use the title belts as weapons. But by far, at least in my opinion, the biggest thing that 2K could learn from Fight Forever is acknowledging prone weapon collisions. Meaning if a wrestler lands on a chair or whatever other weapon that's on the ground, they should acknowledge and sell that bump. Now, how they choose to make that happen from a technical standpoint, I'll leave that to them. But I, for one, definitely feel like that this is a long overdue detail. Although these games have different philosophies when it comes to gameplay, that still doesn't mean that there's a lot that they couldn't learn from each other. For example, I would love to see better match balancing from AEW Fight Forever. Matches have a tendency to end really quickly. I'm talking maybe 2 to 3 minutes tops. And God forbid you have someone that has a high momentum stat. You can legit 5 moves of doom your way through most matches. So they could definitely learn from 2K in terms of overall quality of matches. There also seems to be oversight in terms of positioning as well, because it is very hard to get your opponent in a sitting position, especially if you did like me and did not include a snapmare in your created wrestler's moveset. So not only was I locked out of all the moves that require your opponent to be in a sitting position, I was also locked out of my single leg basement knee that I included as a signature on my character. This seems like a pretty big oversight. Because for one, I should not have to have certain moves in my moveset just to gain access to other moves I have in my moveset. Snapmares and other positional moves just should be a basic gameplay mechanic, one that's universal to all wrestlers. Secondly, if my opponent is laying on the mat, I should be able to place them in the sitting position using said positional gameplay mechanic. Hopefully this is something that they patch in the very near future. 2K is not exactly free from their positional sins either. I think it's extremely goofy that we can't transition from a front to a back grapple during a lockup, nor can we reverse our Irish whip into an Irish whip of our own. I think one of the biggest lessons that 2K could learn from Fight Forever is to simply put professional wrestling first. Fight Forever has proven that you can put things such as chain wrestling and injury selling in a game, and it doesn't have to be immersion breaking. These are areas where I feel like 2K just need to be more creative in terms of gameplay. Another area where I would love to see 2K improve is wrestler authenticity. Wrestlers in the AEW Fight Forever just feel closer to their counterparts. I think it has something to do with the skills as well as the fighting styles that make wrestlers just feel more unique. I love how wrestlers like a Adam Cole or a Sammy Guevara, they feel more speedy and agile, but maybe they lack a little bit less of a punch as opposed to like a Big Show or a Powerhouse Hobbs, who feels far more powerful and able to shrug off basic attacks, but their movement speed is a lot slower. And then there's the very innovative case of Orange Cassidy and his sloth style. Now this may be presumptuous and unfair to say, but I don't feel like 2K would have been that creative with that. I'm sure they would have probably just marginalized it into a couple of canned animations, or better yet, maybe like a comeback or something, and left it at that. But in AEW Fight Forever, it's its own unique style. And this just proves the levels of creativity when it comes to gameplay. All my 2K fans, do me a favor and answer this question. Outside of looks such as character likeness and movesets, does anything else feel unique or individualized by certain wrestlers? Let me know down in the comments. Personally, I feel like AEW's skill system is the reason why most wrestlers feel so authentic and unique. I would love to see 2K follow suit. And truth be told, they already have a blueprint in their own ecosystem. I would love to see them implement something in the realm of NBA 2K's badge system into the WWE 2K series. And not just an abbreviated version, make it equally as extensive. If they gave us a mixture of offensive, defensive, and passive skills, this could play a huge part in further individualizing wrestlers and making them feel more authentic and giving players a more unique experience. Wrestling Games fans, sound off in the comments, man. I know there was a lot I didn't get to go over, but this video is already really long and I didn't want to draw it out anymore. So do me a favor and drop what you feel like these two games could learn from each other down in the comments. If you rock with the content, leave a thumbs up, man. It really helps out the video and the channel overall. God of everything, love above all. And if you can, try to be a blessing to somebody.